Three, two, 1, 0. Ignition. And liftoff.
Something is coming. Not in 10 years. Not eventually. Right now. In 2026. The largest initial public offering in the history of financial markets is preparing to launch. And the people who understand what is actually happening, not just the spectacle of it, but the wealth mechanics behind it, are already moving. SpaceX, a company valued at $1.75 trillion, preparing to raise more capital in a single public offering than any company in the history of markets. Most people will watch this the way they watch a rocket launch, with wonder, with excitement, with no financial position in anything connected to what they are watching. The financially sovereign watch it differently. They see a wealth transfer event, a moment when capital moves from the uninformed to the informed, from the spectators to the positioned. This is not a technology story. This is not a space exploration story. This is a wealth story. And today, Sovereign Wealth breaks down the 10 money moves that financially sovereign people are making right now, before the window closes. Stay until move number 1. It is the move that has nothing to do with SpaceX, and everything to do with the man making it. Welcome to Sovereign Wealth, built for the man already in motion. Let's get into it. Most people see SpaceX and think rockets. The financially sovereign see something entirely different. Starlink, SpaceX's satellite internet constellation, surpassed 10 million subscribers and now generates the majority of SpaceX's annual revenue. This is not an aerospace company. This is a global telecommunications infrastructure company that builds and launches its own hardware. The space economy is projected to grow from $630 billion in 2023 to $1.8 trillion by 2035. The rocket is the product that built the audience. The network is the empire that monetizes it. Understanding what a company truly is, before the mainstream consensus forms, is the move that generates asymmetric returns. The sovereign make that analysis first. When a company at SpaceX's scale goes public, it does not just create a new ticker symbol. It reshapes the composition of major indices. Passive funds that track the S&P 500 and Nasdaq are required to buy it. That automatic buying creates demand at every level of the market simultaneously. The sovereign understand this mechanism before it activates. They study which sectors get re-rated, which adjacent companies benefit, which ETFs get inflows. They position in the ecosystem, not just the headline. Information acted upon early is an asset. The same information acted upon after the move has already happened is noise. SpaceX does not exist in isolation. Rocket Lab posted annual revenue of $602 million in 2025. SpaceX's most credible launch competitor, already publicly traded. AST SpaceMobile, the second largest satellite internet provider behind Starlink, already public. The Barron First Principles ETF holds SpaceX directly at a 7.7% weighting, accessible today before the IPO. The sovereign buy the ecosystem before the crowd arrives. Then, when the headline listing happens, everything around it rises with the tide. Be in the water before the tide comes in. not watching from the shore. SpaceX is not yet publicly traded. Most retail investors cannot buy it directly today. The sovereign know which doors are already open. The private shares fund holds SpaceX at a 19.4% weighting, accessible to non-accredited investors with approximately $2,500 minimum. The Barron First Principles ETF holds both Tesla and SpaceX. One purchase, done. Platforms like Rainmaker Securities allow accredited investors to buy SpaceX shares in secondary markets today. The door is not locked. Most people simply do not know where it is. Sovereign people find the door. They do not wait for someone to open it for them. A significant portion of SpaceX's $1.75 trillion valuation is attributable to one person. The sovereign price this in. They ask, how much of this valuation is the business and how much is the man? SpaceX went from $1.3 billion in 2012 to $800 billion in December 2025. The Musk premium is real and worth something. The risk attached is equally real and worth pricing. Conviction without concentration. That is the sovereign approach to every investment that carries single-person risk at this level. The launch is not the story. The economics of the launch are the story. The Falcon 9 brought launch costs to approximately $1,500 per kilogram. Starship, when fully operational, could reduce that by half. When the cost of accessing orbit drops that dramatically, everything in the space economy becomes more profitable. Satellites cheaper to deploy. Starlink expands faster. The entire ecosystem gets a structural upgrade. Starship completed 11 integrated test flights, including 3 successful booster catches. This is not a prototype. This is an operational program. Starship is not a rocket. It is a cost structure revolution. And cost structure revolutions determine who makes money in an industry permanently. The sovereign do not bet everything on one company. They build architecture. The space economy was valued at $626 billion in 2025. Private companies now provide 70% of the capital flowing into space exploration. Defense contractors, satellite communication companies, launch vehicle manufacturers, data analytics companies. Each one is a different entry point into the same structural trend, different risk profiles, different time horizons. Diversification within a megatrend is not cowardice, it is precision. Build the ecosystem. Let the rising tide do what rising tides do. A $1.75 trillion listing does not happen in a vacuum. When SpaceX enters public markets, passive funds are algorithmically required to buy it. That creates automatic price-insensitive demand at enormous scale. Additionally, SpaceX holds Bitcoin as a strategic treasury reserve, approximately $580 million. When SpaceX enters major indices, funds gain indirect Bitcoin exposure for the first time. The sovereign are positioned not just in SpaceX, but for the ripple effects across every connected sector. The biggest wealth events in history were never secrets. They were misunderstood by most, and positioned for correctly by the few who did the analysis first. The sovereign do not get distracted by the controversy. They study the architecture. Elon Musk's playbook is consistent across every company he has built. Start with a mission the consensus believes is impossible. Raise private capital. Stay private long enough to compound. Go public at maximum leverage. PayPal. Tesla, SpaceX, same pattern, 3 times. The pattern is the lesson, not the personality, not the tweets or the headlines. Study the architecture. Apply it to what you are building. That is how the sovereign use other people's blueprints. Here is the most important move on this entire list, and it has nothing to do with SpaceX directly. The sovereign use moments like this, the largest IPO in history, as a forcing function. To ask, am I building or am I watching? Am I positioned or am I spectating? The SpaceX IPO will create billionaires, from early employees, from early investors, from the people positioned in the ecosystem before the mainstream arrived, and it will pass by millions who followed every launch, read every article, and never made a single financial move as a result. The sovereign are not those people. The greatest wealth event in history means nothing if you are not positioned. Position yourself, starting today. 10 moves, 1 window, 1 question that matters. Are you watching or are you building? Drop your SpaceX play in the comments. Subscribe to Sovereign Wealth. New sessions every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We will see you in the next one.